Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hi there, Jackie Woodside here, the founder and the host of the Conscious Living Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here with us again today for another session of this show. I'm going to be working with you today myself. I'm not interviewing somebody. I'm just going to be connecting with you personally on a topic that's near and dear to my heart and probably yours as well. What we're going to be talking about are 5 things you can do right now, starting today, to improve your financial life. You probably know, if you've been following me, that I wrote a book called Money Vibe, Your Financial Freedom Formula, whether you have money or not. So I've spent years of my career thinking deeply and working with people around this area called Money Vibe. And I've also had my own personal journey with money, as we all have, going myself personally from homeless to multiple 7-figure assets, from not having any place to lay my head to now owning 3 waterfront homes. So I've learned a thing or two throughout that process about our relationship with money and how you can improve it. First thing that I want you to really think critically about is what I just said to you about your relationship with money. You have a relationship with everything. You have a relationship with working out, with going to work, your career. You have a relationship with your friends, your spouse. You have a relationship with money. And when I say you have a relationship with it, what I mean is you have a whole inner world of beliefs, emotions, attitudes, thoughts, perceptions that create your outer experience with money. I say it's your beat, beliefs, emotions, attitudes, and thoughts, that create your vibe about money, and that is what creates your experience of it. But that doesn't mean that you're powerless in being able to impact and create a new and better experience with money. So I'm going to teach you today what I call the MIDAS touch, the 5 steps of MIDAS of how you can create a better experience and better relationship with money. So let's get into each and every one of those. The first step of MIDAS is, as you would guess, starts with an M. And that means simply be mindful. Be mindful of how you are using your money. Be mindful of the inflow and the outflow of money. Keep track of your spending if you're not able to actually have savings and put savings goals away. Savings for short-term things like buying a new car or fixing the roof, as well as savings for long-term things like building your wealth. So you've got to be mindful of how you are using your money. Keep track of it. Actually have a weekly or at least monthly, but probably a weekly finance meeting with yourself, where you sit down with yourself or your partner. You can do this with an accountability buddy if that works better for you. And you actually go through and track where you spent your money and where you were making your money. How unconscious are you about your spending? I had a client that I worked with years ago who was doing well, professional person, made a good living, but was always behind on her bills and was feeling really swamped. So finally I said to her, what's your financial situation look like anyway? How much debt do you have? How much are you putting away in savings? And she very quickly admitted that she had no savings. She had no retirement accounts whatsoever, and that she honestly had no idea what the total sum of her debt was. She completely had her head in the sand when it came to money. She said, I just don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about it. And so I had her do that assignment over the coming week of her coaching, between our coaching appointments. And she came on the line the following week, literally in tears. She said, Jackie, I had no idea. Turns out she had upwards of $70,000 of incurred debt, of car payment and credit card debt and different kinds of, store credit cards. So she really had a difficult path cut out before her. But over the course of the next 3 years, she was able to turn that around. Now, notice I said 3 years. She didn't do it overnight, but she was able to go from about $70,000 in debt to actually having $10,000 of savings. How did she do that? She got her head out of the sand. She cataloged what her spending was. She did a weekly meeting with herself to pay attention to how she was using her resource of money. So the M in MIDAS, be mindful. I is be intentional. Be intentional, meaning you're not going to create a better relationship with money. You're not going to create wealth. You're not going to create a positive financial future with your head in the sand and without being intentional that that is actually the experience you want to have and create. People don't generally develop wealth by happenstance. It doesn't just happen that you become wealthy and develop financial independence. So what I'm talking about here when I say be intentional is I want you to spend a little bit of time paying attention to and asking yourself the question, what do I want my financial future to look like? What vision do I have for my financial future, say over the next 3 years or 5 years? And allow yourself to do a little bit of writing. Maybe you want to pay off your house. Maybe you want to have enough saved up to buy a new car. Maybe you want to begin real estate investing or learning more about how to grow your wealth. Whatever your financial vision is, I want you to write that down. Be intentional. Your financial well-being is not going to happen on its own. After you've created that financial vision with, different elements of things that you want to accomplish over the next, say, 3 years, what I want you to do from that is take and create some goals that you can begin immediately. So say one of your visions is that you want to have a second stream of income over the next 3 years. Some immediate goals could be start researching earning opportunities, start researching ways that you can bring in a second stream of income, talk to people that you know that have multiple streams of income, interview them. So the first phase of any new creation is to gather information, to learn. You don't want to go out and just take action. You need to talk to people and learn, but you can't do any of that without the I in MIDAS. Be intentional about your financial future. The other thing that I want you to pay attention to is to know what your beliefs are. What do you believe about your financial future? If you have what I call low vibe beliefs, like, oh, money just is too difficult and I suck at this and I'm never going to get ahead and I'm never going to catch a break. These, by the way, were my low vibe financial beliefs. I can't get ahead. I never catch a break. Things are always difficult for me. I suck at money. These were all of the things that were in my head before I started doing this work. So you've got to pay attention to what do you believe? All you have to do is do a writing exercise. Simply sit down and ask yourself, what do you believe about money? What do you most often think? What do you most often feel? What do you most often say? Answering those questions will help you discern your beliefs. Then what you need to do is create high vibe money beliefs. Yes, just generate them and repeat them over and over and over to yourself in the shower, while you're driving the car, while you're talking to friends. Some of my high vibe money beliefs are things always work for a higher good. I just believe that. Things are always going my way. I can't wait to see where the next inflow of money is going to come from. These are the things that you need to start instilling in your belief system so that you can create a different experience. But you don't do that by not paying attention. So the I in MIDAS, be intentional. Let's go to the next one, MID. What does the D stand for? Be discerning. What do I mean by that? Your experience of money, your spending habits, the way that you see money and even how much money that you earn is likely going to be a reflection of the people that you spend the most time with. So you've got to be discerning about the people that you are surrounding yourself with. Avoid negaholics. Negaholics are people who are chronically negative no matter what the external circumstances are. So avoid negaholics. Look for and cultivate relationships with people who are success-oriented, goal-oriented, who are committed to their personal growth. So you want to surround yourself with what I call high vibe, high curiosity, high intelligence, high vibration people who really want to be empowered to create a better experience in life. So if you look around yourself and you're surrounded by people who are high drama, negaholics, complainers, chronic complainers, victims, blamers, then you're going to create that kind of a future for yourself. How do you get out of that? You reach out and create opportunities to meet people that are high vibe, high consciousness, success-oriented people by taking classes, getting involved in personal development movements and programs, online or in person. There's so many ways to do that. One of the ones that I was involved with when I was making this transition from, kind of a low vibe, I can't make it happen. One of the places I got heavily involved was Landmark Education Corporation. Another one was the Unity Church movement. Those two communities of Landmark Education and the Unity movement made a tremendous difference in how I think, what I believe, and the level of empowerment that I felt about myself and my future, money and otherwise. So be discerning. Be mindful of the people that you spend your time with. So we've got MID, the first three letters. So M is be mindful, I is be intentional, D is be discerning, A, be astute. Fund your net worth with clear actions rather than funding your self-worth with rabid consumerism. So often when you're struggling with confidence or self-worth, you want to go out and buy that hot car or have that really nice watch or that nice handbag or pair of shoes. You want to have those hot clothes or have the most beautiful art or dishes in your home. Stop funding your self-worth. You're going to create self-worth by actually setting and achieving goals. Don't engage in impulse buying. How will you know that you have impulse buying? Look at your credit card statement. Look at your Amazon account. You're going to see the places that you are funding your self-worth rather than building your net worth. So how do you do this? You develop a clear plan. Go back to that vision that I was talking about in an earlier step. Create that vision, turn it into goals. Take action on those goals. Maybe what's there for you is to create a side hustle. There's so many lucrative ways that you can make money by helping other people or generating a side hustle. So I don't know what it's going to be for you, but what I do know is that you have to be astute and savvy about developing your sense of your financial future rather than the impulse spending that so many people spend their money on. Right? You're not going to create a solid, expansive, prosperous financial future by living your life with all kinds of impulse spending. So MIDA is astute. S, be strategic. What I mean by being strategic is create that vision for yourself. Write it down into goals. Create that vision. Break it down into tasks that you can do right now, starting today. You have to be strategic as you create this life for yourself. Your intentionality and your ability to be strategic is exactly what will have you create the financial future that you desire. So being strategic means that you know where your money is invested. You have a really good handle on what your spending plan is like. You have a plan for your financial future that includes retirement accounts. You have a sense of where you're going to invest. Maybe you want your investments to be in real estate. Get your education there. Be strategic. Maybe you want your investments to be in cryptocurrency or just in index funds, mutual funds. It doesn't matter where you think you're going to develop your wealth. There's all kinds of opinions out there. That's not my area of expertise. But what I do know is that when you create a long-term plan and you take strategic action over time, your financial future changes. I went from massively in debt and homeless to multiple seven figures over the course of several years. It did not happen overnight. I'm not saying it did, but clear, consistent, strategic thought, plans, and action over time. My friend, my client who was $70,000 in debt. How did she go from $70,000 in debt to $10,000 in savings? Clear, strategic, consistent action over time, which means that you have to go back to all of these other ones. You're not going to engage in clear, consistent, positive action if you're hanging around with negaholics. So you have to be astute and discerning about who you're spending time with. You're not going to develop this without being intentional. Clear, consistent action over time means you have to pay attention and be intentional to these actions. So MIDAS, one more time, be mindful, be intentional, be discerning, be astute, and be strategic. Putting these steps in place, choose one of them, just choose one of them. Send this podcast or this recording to a friend of yours that you want to engage in this kind of an action with. Or if you're married and have a partner or a spouse, sit down with your spouse and decide which of these or which ones of these can you begin to put in place right now, today, so that you get immediate outcomes from making these changes. Look, I know I'm a human behavior expert. I know that behavior change is not easy, but what I do know is that it begins with intention, and from intention to vision, from vision to goals, from goals to action. And then slowly, strategically, over time, you end up with a new life. That's what I'm counting on for you. So thank you so much for being with me. I am just so grateful for your time, your energy, and your attention. I'm grateful that you are one of the people that feels empowered enough to create a better life for yourself. Because when we all do that, it creates a better world for all of us. Thanks for being with me.